I call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Trish.
Mrs. Brew?
Here.
Mr. Kramer?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Mr. Oja?
Here.
Mr. Pop?
Here.
Move on to the approval of the agenda. Is there any additions?
We have no additions.
Okay. Can I have a motion on the agenda, please?
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. Move on to the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of January 7th, 2019, special meeting of January 15th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the regular meetings of January 7th, 2019, and special meeting of January 15th, 2019.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. Move on to the,
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
sorry about that, Brett.
Sorry.
Move on to the approval of the manifest 2019-02. Scott, any questions?
I have nothing for tonight.
Brett?
I have none.
Lee?
Yeah, one question here, maybe it's a misprint, but in every department, you've got the regional safety program, quarterly, whatever, but it says electrical for every one of them. What does, shouldn't they be charged to the separate, I mean, they are in the separate departments,
It's probably just,
but every one says it's electrical.
it probably just came out in a description.
Oh, okay.
And that was just
That's
typed in.
that's just our normal
Yeah.
safety program.
That's our
going on.
normal
Okay.
safety program that charge the departments based on the number of employees that are trained.
Okay, that's all I have then.
Jeremy?
No.
And I have none. We don't have anybody in the audience. Move on to communications, approval of water department system.
To approve the manifest?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion, we approve manifest 2019-02 in the amount of $1,064,297.60.
Support.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Move on to communication, approval water department system service inventory.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. This particular proposal is from GEI. It is actually something that has come out this past year from the new lead and copper rule, precipitated from the issue in Flint, and I think we all know what happened there. So now what they want, or they're mandating that the city water department, that we, along with our asset management plan, that we also inventory all the services that go into the residents or customers. We want to know the types, basically, is what it comes down to. It's not a location survey, it's a condition survey. So I did ask GEI to give us a quote for that, and add it to basically it's adding it to their asset management plan. That we're on to the last phase right now on the asset management plan. It's dealing with the well site locations for redundancy, so then we have to have this in by January of 2020. Before I say what the amount is publicly, I just wanted to, I want to find out if the council is comfortable without having a second proposal. I do believe that this looks like, to me, it looks like another phase onto our asset management plan. And I did ask individually if you had any issues, but I just want to make sure. So once we say it publicly, then it'd be tough to go out.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, we've had a good rapport with GEI consultants, and they'll do a good job. But what I'm sick and tired of is all these mandates. I mean, if it isn't the state, it's the federal, it's DEQ. I get so mad and frustrated. If you mandate it, damn it, you pay for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And, I mean, we just got through with this big water and sewer project. We've built in a little cushion on our rates, so we don't have to raise rates for hopefully a couple of years, and now all of a sudden, this starts to come along. And tomorrow, it's gonna be something else. It's
Right.
totally ridiculous. I know we have to do it, but I just,
I will say that when I did receive an email from the DEQ, from the employees up in Marquette that are reviewing the asset management plan, they sent me an email recognizing that we've submitted that portion of it, and that they were appreciative that we were meeting our responsibilities. And this is for GEI's benefit, that in the email, it said that that's one of the better plans, one of the best plans that they've seen. So I think we got a very high-quality, good plan put together by GEI. Very happy with how we've been working together.
Is everybody else all right with that, or would you guys like it to go out on bid?
I'm okay with it.
I personally would like to see things on bid. That's my opinion.
Brett?
They were leading up the water assessment management plan, you know, which this ties really tight to. So to me, I'd have to say that I'm okay with it.
So they did all the work before, leading up to this?
Yes. Yeah, this is really a continuation of work that they've done to date,
Okay.
because they've done all of the asset management inventory for the mains, the system. So this is just adding services to it.
If I could just very quickly pounce in as well, if the council is so inclined to agree to the proposal, I emailed Mr. Anderson as well. One of the standard terms within the agreement of these engineers, there's always limitations of liability, which I unilaterally always indicate and strike through. So if the council was inclined to approve their proposal, I would ask for it to be approved with the caveat that 8B, limitation of liability, be stricken.
This is the same language that we changed in the original proposal, so it shouldn't be any issue.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that GEI Consultants be approved to perform the city water system services inventory for a price not to exceed $19,250 with the amendments that Mr. Carlson made.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
No.
Mrs. Brew?
No.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
no.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So I guess it goes out on bids.
I'm not so concerned about it going out on bids, I'm just against this whole thing. I get so upset when I get into these mandates.
Yeah, but you can't.
They put us in a tough spot right
Yeah,
now.
it's
Yeah.
a very tough spot. I'd just like to see it go out on bids.
I would just like to see it. It should be, I think things should be bidded out.
Like I said, we've had a good rapport with them. and
Yes.
Put it on bids then. Will this happen quickly, Ray? I mean, it's not like we have to have it in a month, is it? Because it's not budgeted, right?
No. We have to have it by January 2020.
Does it matter?
2020,
the
yeah,
amounts
so I
out
thought,
there, though?
okay, so
Huh?
we can,
The amounts out there?
Yeah, that's a problem.
So technically, we
We'll
can...
have to deal with it.
Put it in next year's budget.
Yeah.
But now that price was mentioned, that's kind of unfair to
Mentioned.
somebody else that might bid
In the motion.
Making
in the motion.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
It's part of the motion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You
Yep,
did. it right.
yep. But we can still
Can we revote
go with
on
one
it?
we want. We don't have to go with the lowest bidder. Somebody comes in $1 less, you know.
Can we
They are
vote
local.
on that if we wanted? If somebody made a motion again?
If you choose to bring it back up again and address it, if there's been some kind of a change or a misunderstanding with the original vote,
I didn't realize that I guess I didn't realize Jeremy, when he did it, which he did it right, he put the price out there, so now it's unfair to do it.
yeah, but it has to be out there for the public, you know, as it's stated for the amount, so.
Yes. That's my fault for not. So can I remake the motion?
If you would like to make a motion to reconsider the previous vote and bring it up for discussion, that's up to the council.
I'll make a motion to go back and look at this motion and rediscuss it on the Water Department System Service Inventory.
I'll support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
I do have one question on it, though. Why wasn't that part of the first water assessment plan?
I wasn't in the specs. We didn't add it into the specs on the original.
But did we know about it at that time? This is something,
This is something that came out in 2018. Not sure the timing as to when the specs were put out
Yeah, that's-
versus when we had the official mandate. For my benefit, I would say no, but, you know, it could have been out there a little bit. And we just
maybe we
missed it.
never had the information in time, as far as that goes,
Right,
you know, it's...
right. We've been arguing with the rules, the new lead and copper rules, since the spring.
And there's more to come.
I'm sure there's more to come. There's always more to come when it comes to water quality. You know, for the record, the Norway water quality is one of the higher rated, you know, systems. We've done a lot of work over the years. Our well water quality that comes out of our aquifer is, it's very good quality. So, you know, we work well with the DEQ because of that. It's not the folks up in our district here in the UP. It really just, it all comes down to the legislation and you know, in the home office. So, you know, they work with us very closely. You know, so I'm appreciative of that, someone that's trying to work with the agencies.
All right, is there any favor to hold off and bring it back to the next meeting? Or would you like to
It's
revote on?
council's prerogative.
To get more information, or?
I would like to, you know, just get some direction, you know, what you would like me to bring back.
Well, it got voted down because people wanted it to go out on bids. I mean, can we change the language in the quote so that it's not the same exact language as the first quote?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, they're basically just doing.
I'm just throwing that out there, you know, because that price is out there, everything else. You know, if we change the language in the quote and re-quote it or whatever it may be, you know, that would be probably the fairest thing, I would say, Grant.
just to be completely open and honest about it, I mean, the cat's out of the bag to a degree, as it is.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's, you know, I know the council struggles with this oftentimes with some of these things, and I know it's a fine line with the city manager as far as moving forward with when to, go out. It's extremely expensive. I should say extremely expensive. It's expensive for the publications and sometimes to put together bid sheets on everything. And I know City Manager Anderson struggles with when is it appropriate, when is it not appropriate. It's up to council to determine whether or not to do it on competitive bidding or not. It's frankly, it's council prerogative. It's always, I guess, a much more open process, but it does have certain things that go along with it as well when you do competitive bidding for everything. So, as City Manager Anderson noted, if this is something that is just a continuation of our current inventorying of our water system, I think it makes some sense as far as how it came along, but with the amount, I understand council's position as well. So I don't know how we would state it so that it's different. I mean, what we need is what we need.
Different for the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we need, so we might not get anybody else. This is a relatively specialized type service that GEI provides. There might not be a whole lot of response regardless because of that specialization. I believe they're doing much of the work across the UP right now that's similar in kind. So this might be a situation in which council doesn't get much of a response either way. That's my understanding.
And I think what response I'd get if, I'd pick up the phone and I'd make some contacts, and I think the response I'd probably get is, well, they didn't do in the first phase.
Right.
Why would we step in and do phase two? I think there's going to be some economies of knowledge that they picked up. I mean, I can ask the questions out there, but I'm guessing that they may not even want to put in.
I apologize to Mr. Anderson. I should have talked to you ahead of time on this. But I did change my mind, and I did ask to bring it up again. And I'm going to go back and make a motion to accept the bid for, what was it?
$19,250.
Well, in Communications 10, we got the same thing
Yeah, and that's what I
with
was
the mead
going to
and
ask.
hunt. That's the same thing.
Yeah.
But they've done it all these years, and they know what's going on,
And they did the other.
yeah, and I'm sure we'll give that to them. So technically, we've done this before, because of the rapport between us and these other companies, and we know we're gonna get the good job at maybe not necessarily the lowest price, but a good price, a decent price, a fair price.
Well, plus they did the phases before.
Well, yeah. It's, I said,
So
I voted no because I'm just so fed up with this, these mandates, that's all.
I'll support your motion.
So just so we're clear on the record, Ms. Brew's motion is to reconsider the previous vote of council and to approve the GEI consultant's bid for $19,250 and to approve it
Yes.
for a price not to exceed $19,250 with the striking of paragraph 8B, which references the limitations of liability.
You got that, Trish?
Oh, yeah.
We got the video.
Just want to make sure it's clear.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Mr. Menegini.
Yes.
Mr. Oja.
Yes.
Mr. Pop.
No.
Mrs. Brew.
Yes. We'll move on to approval USDA WWTP project pay request.
The pay request before you is basically centers around the retention of $140,000. A test was done on the grit removal system, the T-cup, and it passed. So I think that the contractor has submitted paperwork request to close this part of the contract out, or their portion of the contract. So that's the $140,000. We did include, we're in startup, we're still in startup. So we've included two other, well, it's one project on wasting and return valves that we're having some issues. And so, you know, we're fine tuning that. We have FDS involved in that. So we have valves at $2,355 plus another $8,000 for FDS to do some additional installation and SCADA work. So the total for this pay request is $150,355.06. On sheet 2 or second page of my report, I did lay out where we stand with the total project, which the project is 99% complete. You know, taking into account the pay requests that we did in December, and also this latest pay request, that leaves us with $42,000 or $63,624, but that also includes $20,000 left in engineering. So if you notice, the contingency line is really the line that's unaccounted for, and that's $42,155. One note that the government shutdown has affected the project only in the sense that our rural development contacts in Gladstone are on furlough and have been since Christmas, I guess, when it started. We have an extension request into them. We have another issue in the sewer project dealing with grant money. And we have the pay request from December that's in their mailbox. They do not respond to anything until the shutdown's completed. So what we are doing here is we are moving forward with startup with the remaining monies, and it's all part of the project. We're going to have to reconcile with them once the shutdown is complete.
So the teacup came back good, everything's good?
Yeah.
So is this an initial engineering that we didn't really need the teacup?
I'm going to reserve the answer to that. You know, it's hard for me to answer it. It appears that there's maybe some other issues that are going on with grit, but it's not something that this particular piece of equipment deals with.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we're doing is we're working through our SAW project to evaluate that component of it. And that particular project is 90% grant, and that's what it's designed to do anyway. Yeah. It's designed to look at some of these outlier issues at the plant.
My question would be, can we separate them, two pay requests? The $140,000 to gun latch and the $10,355.06 to the other two contractors. Can we separate that, two different pay requests?
I mean, it's just two separate pieces of paper.
Yeah, I'll have to redo some of the paperwork for R&D, but we can do that.
Thank you.
Since you guys worked on this, what's your opinion on this?
I haven't been in the last couple months because I've been
Okay.
extremely busy at work.
The test prove out, as far as the teacup goes, it's legitimate, you know, it's working, it works how it should, you know, and everything that they've done or proven, it proves good, you know. So as far as gun lock goes, you know, that's, in my opinion, I think they're done, you know, I really do. You know, that in the packet, they also had the completions, I see, from all the contractors that were involved, which we've asked for that for a while, and they've completed that as well. You know, so they can't go back there at all. I just would like to see it separated, you know, from gun latches original to these new startup costs. I'd like to see that separated in the pay request.
And I think it's a reasonable request. two reasons. Well, first of all, nobody's getting paid for anything until the shutdown's over.
Yes.
You know, so Gunlock won't be able to get the 140,000 until the shutdown's over. And they understand that, you know, we told them that. But if there is some reason that RD, Gladstone, takes issue with the valve work we're doing, it wouldn't hold up Gunlock getting their 140,000, which I think, is that where you're going with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to see that separate, you know, that's a separate contractor, and you got two other contractors involved, so.
Yeah. So
That's a
we
good
can,
idea.
we can run the paperwork, we'll just have to have the mayor sign it tomorrow when we get it cleaned up. So you could do two separate motions on that, or you could do a motion and include both numbers.
Well, how would you like that, Grant? Two separate motions, or one motion broke apart?
Break it up into two.
Yeah, 'cause it'd be 140,000.
Well, in case somebody, if somebody votes, if it gets voted down for one, but not the other.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense to break them down so they're not together.
I make a motion that the city council approves the invoices for the WWTP project pay request in the amount of 140,000 for Gunlock Champion.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes. I would like to make a second motion that the city council approves the invoices for WWTP project pay request in the amount of $10,355.06 for Harrington Industries and FDS.
I'll support.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
We'll move on to approval, electric department joint use pole attachment study.
On this one, can we keep the price out of this one too without announcing?
This particular request, this was a real late issue that came up last week, and I'll give some background. Where this is coming from is, we are trying to negotiate, or at least complete negotiation with AT&T, and negotiation might be a strong word. I mean, we have a joint use or a pole attachment agreement that we need to submit to not only AT&T, but any company that attaches to our utility pole. And we've been working this past year, as you know, through the state, this 5G legislation that just passed in lame duck. And through that, the Michigan Municipal Electric Association worked with us, or at least stepped out and worked with a firm, this McLean Engineering, to develop a standard form agreement that we can all use for the companies like AT&T or Verizon or any of the companies that would attach to our poles. As part of that agreement, there's a rate that needs to be developed for the attachments. You know, so you charge them so many poles. We have 2,900 poles. They're not all attached, but you know, there's a whole calculation. We currently charge $8 per pole and per attachment, and that number is not based on a calculation, which that's the first thing we have to do, is we have to have some basis where we come up with the amount. But the second is that we're seeing numbers double that come out on these attachment costs, charges. But the only way that we can do that is to have this study done. So council did approve contract with McLean Engineering to do that for us. And then what we did is they sent us a data sheet and said, we need to have information on your poles in order for us to do it. All right, so you know, just recently I was able to get with Tim and ask him if he could get that information. We thought we had it in the system, and we do not. So I said, okay, we're gonna have to go to every one of these polls, and we're gonna have to get this data. He did indicate to me, he said, well, I've got all this work going on. I'm not sure I can get to all the polls and do this for you in a reasonable amount of time. So I know we've been working with Empower. They do our GIS, and I said, hey, what would it take for you guys to go out and do this for us? Again, it was kind of a late minute deal. Now, one of the other parts that I found out this past week, because I was down at a meeting at the MMEA, we were talking about the 5G and all of this issue, and they're in the legislation, which I found out this week, that the enactment date or the effective date of the legislation is March 10th. We have 90 days from March 10th to have a permitting in place. It's not that you have to have the contracts in place, but you have to have the permitting in place. And what happens is that if you, in order to permit, you also have to have agreements, attachment agreements. So we're kind of under the gun again on, we basically have 90 days, well, we have more than that. We have, about 120 days, to get this stuff in place.
So what are they looking for? Are they looking for
A grid?
to go to the pole and, because not every pole got an attachment, right? So do we know how many poles we have?
2,900.
But that doesn't help?
No, because what they need to know is what kind of pole, how tall, what's on it, not just the attachment, is there an attachment or not, is there a can on it, is there, what's on it? They need to know.
Everything that's on every pole in town.
Right.
So it's not as simple as going around and counting the poles.
It's not counting poles. It's actually going and saying that's a pine or cedar, it's 30 foot, 40 foot, 50 foot, it's the age, how old is it? Because part of the calculation is depreciation on the pole.
So they need to know the age of the pole too?
Good luck with that.
Well, it's basically, is that pole over 15 years old? Is it under 15 years old? It doesn't have to be exact, but they have to have a general idea. Is it something that's,
Looks like another mandate to me.
Well,
So we got until June 10th
not-
to give them the full assessment of what we have.
oh no,
No.
that's when we have to have the permitting in place.
The permit has to be in place by then.
It's only gonna
Okay.
take them, once we give them the information, it's only gonna take them, I think he said 2 to 3 weeks, to get us a number. But we have to be able to, be talking with AT&T. We send them the contract, and then we have to have the amount that we're charging. And of course, they're just not gonna sign it and send it back, I mean, Grant and I have been working on this for how long?
It's been out there for a while.
The current agreement is from 1948. That's our current pole
Yeah.
attachment, or.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we know we need to do it. When I
And this is
contact,
something we don't have in the system, you said you already checked.
yeah, we checked, we thought we had it, we don't have it. We have the poles, I mean, we have a number of poles, but we don't have all the appurtenances on the poles and the age and the height and the
Is
type.
this something they're gonna come back and look for later too, or no?
Well, once it's in the system, it's in the system.
Yeah, but I mean, these AT&T or whoever's connecting to the poles, I mean, is this, something we're gonna need later on too?
Well, once we establish that, until there's changes,
Right, well, we'll have it.
yeah, we'll have it. And AT&T, I mean, we set up a number, we went out and we counted the poles and the attachments, how many years ago, Mary? I mean, we changed the amount, I think, about a decade ago, about 10 years? Yeah, but the 48 agreement, there's no, that $8 has been in place for that long, and there's no inflation on it, so it's been the same number.
And you have to do that to get the number from this other company?
Yeah, we have to do that in order to get the FCC maximum that we can charge, the FCC calculation. See,
We also have to show where we get our number from.
yeah, we have
Not
to
just
prove
break
it,
out.
it's not, we want to charge $10, you can't do that. And you can't just go around and say, what do you charge, and what do you charge, and what do you charge? You can't do that, you have to have a basis by which you get it.
from the sounds of it here, it said, excuse me, industry averages for such attachment charges, we expect this figure of calculation to increase substantially, so it could double from 8 to 16.
That's my anticipation.
Well, that extra $8 will cover the cost of this project, if that's what it is.
And this is just
The
for
new
them.
charge.
And then this is just for them to count the pole. This ain't the inspection of the poles and that, like you asked for last time.
No, that's not the inspection as far as a condition inspection. This is this is an inventory. It's just like what we went through with the services. You know, they have to, it's not just how many services you have, it's what kind of material, you know, there's a lot of.
What's on the poles.
Right. So
So
they,
they want to look at the data.
right.
They need the data from each pole.
Right, the only way to get it is to physically go to the pole, you know, and look at it and.
Ray,
mark it down.
would you have a ballpark figure as to how many poles that AT&T is on? I mean,
what's the
they're not
number?
on all 2,900 poles
No.
they have.
No,
Couple thousand? I'm sure they are.
I don't even think
everything in
it's
the city,
2,000, I think
no?
it's 1,200 or
1,200 or
1,500 or
something.
something like that.
that's,
Are we on any of officially their poles? That's strictly theirs?
I don't think they have any, well, they have the one line that comes through, but I don't think we're on there.
but I think they're on ours. I don't think we're on any of yours.
And this isn't just AT&T, right? This is anybody else that wants to connect to our poles?
Right now, we have PFN, Peninsula Fiber Network, Merit, and AT&T, and the City of Norway. So this is also the City of Norway Cable Department. Because we can't charge AT&T and not charge the City of Norway.
I'd really like to see if our department could do it, but it's just my opinion.
I'd like to see it out on bids.
I can do that. I mean, I can go out, but I'd like to try and turn this around, because
Quick.
I need to get this contract in AT&T's hands specifically. I mean, we're gonna send it to PFN and Merit as well, and we have to establish it for the city cable. So. All right, and again, don't put that out there then.
So we just
that-
table it then?
Would that
Just
be?
table it.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we table.
Or else make a motion that we give it 2 weeks, or the next meeting, council meeting, that if we don't have anything in by then we'll go for there. Is that long enough? Because you gotta have this in by what? Or,
March
we gotta,
10th.
yeah, well,
Well, March 10th is the effective date
Effective date.
of the
But this
legislation.
data needs to be in before then, right?
No,
No?
well, how long do you think it'll take us with AT&T? I mean, we could put the permitting place in place.
Are you looking for a smart comment on how long it'll take with AT&T, or it'll be like juggling jello?
Yeah, I get it.
The sooner the better, so that we can start the process of untangling the web of bureaucracy. How's that?
Spoken very well.
So the sooner the better. I think moving forward and making this a priority to address this and inventory everything and address it with bids, whatever we need to do is important.
Well, how
But
about we
so is
have-
making sure we get it right at the same time.
I think
we
it's gonna
bring
be,
this up on the 18th. The final deadline for the bids would be the 13th, or 15th of February. That's the Friday before our second meeting in February.
yeah, I know where they're coming from in getting their numbers together, because if you take just, okay, employee makes X amount, and that's their billing rate. Let's take a billing rate. How long does it take to go look and stay at each pole? Because it's not just, there's a pole, there's a pole, I mean, you
Yeah.
gotta, what is it? So you have a data sheet, was it 15 minutes a pole, 10 minutes a pole? Put them out there now, and it'll probably take them 2 minutes a pole. They're probably moving along. But, it's how long, and so they have to estimate how long, and they come up with that, okay, so it's gonna cost X amount of dollars per pole to do it. It's kind of specialized, because you have to know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't just grab a summer student and say, go out and do that, because they don't know what they're looking at in a pole. I almost feel like, it has to be a company like this that actually knows when they look at a pole, what's on it, or our employees, and that would be something I probably would spend a lot of time trying to figure out who to contact, because just throwing it out on bids or throwing it out as an advertisement, it would have to be somebody that.
Does it
knew
have
what
to be
they're
something that's certified?
looking at. No, they just have to know what they're looking at, what kind
So
of.
it could be
is it
an
a
old
10
lineman,
KVA can
it
or-
could be an old lineman that can come in and give a bid.
An old lineman could do it, sure, sure.
And say, didn't Coleman do it with a summer student a few years ago? Or they,
You know, that's why I thought we had the system, we had it, but it wasn't Coleman. I think way back, and Mary, maybe you remember this, we had a summer student, and he went out with the Trimble, and I thought he was marking what was on the poles. I think what he did was he just marked the location of the poles. And he didn't actually put the data from the pole into it, because it's not in the system, so.
Just the location then?
I think he just did the location, and maybe put some general information in.
I'm not saying this is. a
I was
bad price.
surprised.
I'd just like to see if we could, just start throwing things out on bids.
Yeah, and I'm
It's
not
a shame
sure
for
if you're,
us, But for you, but, just,
well, I don't mind that. I mean, to me, I'm trying to figure out how to do this the best way. And it almost is, I mean, when I look at it, I agree. When I look at it, I say, geez, could hire somebody and put them out there, and it might be cheaper than this, on the payroll, but you gotta have the right person.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could have a retiree come in and do it, and that would probably be an area that I would look at. Or ask Tim and say, you got any ideas? It's.
maybe a couple of our past employees.
But are they like certified in that hammer test though, to check the poles
Well,
in
we don't
that?
we don't really have to do that. I think he doesn't, for this particular exercise, it doesn't need to have, the hammer test done, all right?
So is that included in this?
It's the
No, I
first.
don't want you to say it.
No, there's two numbers. That does not include it, that does, because what he did was he added just an extra amount. That's what we quoted the last time, to come in and do the actual condition test. And that one, I do have concerns. I don't know if our guys are that's an actual training that,
So you have to be certified. Because I know when you talked about it, you said it wasn't Empower that's doing it, it's a guy that works for Empower, that
Yeah.
has his own equipment.
Yeah.
Is he certified?
he's certified.
And probably has the equipment.
They spend X amount of hours before they turn him loose.
Now,
to
a
do this.
thing on that, we're talking about this contract with AT&T. Are we gonna be able to, can we use that as fighting power? Say, you know what, you pay for partial of the inspection, and you do this.
We're charging them a number.
Probably
to be on
not,
the
that would
pole.
have to go in
That's
here.
part of our cost of doing business. What I'd like to do is get out there, and I'm recommending, we get out there and we get an inventory of these poles. And we
Yeah.
get inventory and get it in the system, so it's done.
Yep.
Now, we always have it,
Yep.
all right? As far as the condition, on this particular exercise, he threw in that second amount, because it's cheaper to do it now, if he's gonna go out and do inventory, it's cheaper to do that, he's at the pole, than to come back in later. And that was why they threw that in there.
Okay.
I didn't ask for it, that's why he threw it in there. He's just saying, hey,
So this-
think about it.
this
But if
is-
we're able to go up
That's the
more
inspection
per
amount.
pole,
Okay.
That's not the
that'll help out with the
testing
cost of
amount.
So he's
inspection.
actually only like,
Right, that's a different number than he would have used, because he's already got mobilization on each pole to do the inspection. So now they would just do the test while they're there. The question is, the person that's required to do the test might be overqualified to just do the inspection. And would it be cheaper to separate them? Why don't we table it? Just table it and let me ask those questions.
table or postpone.
If I can make two comments. First, Councilman Minigini had said I make a motion, so I'd consider at least something out there for him to finish off.
I didn't even hear that, sorry.
yes, he did.
So he made it.
Table it.
I want to make a motion, and I think he mentioned table, and he didn't finish the sentence, so that's still hanging out there as far as that goes. But number two, just cautionary, where this goes, and I'm sure Mr. Anderson will head this, even with doing an inventory and making sure this is all done, I'd caution the council to be cautious about being too always be concerned about the budget, always be concerned about expenditures, of course, but if we have, I think we need to make sure we have legitimacy. If the person who is doing this or the entity that's doing it if you think that AT&T will simply just accept our findings without any support or without the proper documentation or perhaps the proper credentials, when you're talking about a large sum of money, to make sure that we have that backup, if you will. And I'm not advocating for or against this entity, frankly, it doesn't matter to me. But just as far as, we made comments about bringing summer help in or having an old employee come in or whatever. Just something to think about when the council considers the totality of it. The extent, I don't know how AT&T will latch on to this or challenge our findings, but it's nice to have credentialed up and a known entity that's doing some of this.
I don't know if you talk about an old lineman, I was an old lineman back in the early 70s, but I don't think
the
they
snowshoes
take my
on.
word for what's on the pole.
Put the snowshoes on.
Yeah.
Well, with the tabling for 2 weeks, I mean, these are all great questions, and it gives me a chance, to research it and find out, what options are out there. The inventory part isn't the part that is as critical, I think, in the certification as if you're gonna look for, pole testing, then you gotta have somebody that knows what they're doing with that. And, I mean, we've talked about it in-house, and, they recognize the same thing. It's like, well, these guys that actually do the testing do it for a while, before they even put them out on a pole by themselves, so they do it for a while. Our guys have never done it. But they can go around and tell you what's on the pole.
But we
give
don't
you all
need
the
that
information.
anyway.
Not on the first part, no.
No,
And we threw that in, like I said,
and
because
like
if
I
you're
said,
gonna,
it'd be nice to see if we're gonna be able to increase that contract with AT&T. That'll help pay for.
and I'll try to come up with some guesstimates on how much that would help too.
Okay.
I'll support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Move on to approval Sturgeon Falls Hydro Annual License Compliance Engineering Support.
Yeah, this, as Councilmember Mangini mentioned early on, this is something we do every year. Sean got me this proposal early this year. It really doesn't start till July 1. His proposal is for $36,000, $36,600. I gave you a little bit of background information though, because they just charge for what they actually do. If we end up doing and helping and deferring some of the costs by helping, then it doesn't cost this much, but he doesn't know that ahead of time. And I gave you a few numbers from the past few years. In 17-18, fiscal year 17-18, we had a budget of $29,000. That's what the council approved. We were only charged $16,596. To date, we've only spent a little over $1,500 or $1,000. So, I think it's, it's $3,600, I'm sorry. But, I think that they've been a good value, they know what they're doing, it's very efficient.
They've been doing it for a lot of years, right?
A lot of years. They were doing it prior to me showing up here. They were involved in for compliance. And I think in the case of the compliance support, the relationship with FERC, I think, is one that you're really buying into. Because when the engineer calls down to FERC, and we have, again, I mentioned about it, the DEQ up here with the water. We have an even stronger relationship with FERC right now with the dam. We get really good inspection results. They've been very supportive. They have their rules, and you follow their rules. And I think they appreciate that we don't argue with them about notices and compliance. We've done our jobs. I know we've had comments here about it's irritating when you have this plan and that plan and the different requirements, but we have the 30-year license, and those are obligations that we've made, to have the dam. So I think this relationship is strong, and I think it's really good with Meat and Hunt in this compliance. I'm not going to tell you there aren't other options out there. I'm just not sure we're ready to investigate those. But, of course, I would do whatever council chooses.
When does this have to be done, Ray? Oh, let's see. Proposal for 2019-20?
Yeah, yeah. It's July 1st. I mean, it starts
Yeah.
July 1st, and, you know, he's contracted through June 30th of this year. So
Well, I know we've been doing this for years with them, and like you said, they've got a real good relationship with FERC, and so do we, and I'd like to kind of keep it that way. But if you're wondering why things are so expensive, their billing rate is the low of $77 per hour to a high of $276 an hour. Now, how they break that down, who does what, I don't know, but that's their billing rate. The low is $77 an hour.
Also, before council votes on this, if the council were to approve it, they've attached their standard contracts as well, or their general terms and conditions. Again, I'd ask council to approve it with the ability for myself and/or Mr. Anderson to negotiate referencing paragraph 7 and paragraph 24. Paragraph 24 is venue. They haven't venued all issues arising out of this, come out of into Wisconsin. I would request Michigan, so I'd like to address that. Same thing as the previous comments I made regarding paragraph 7. They have a limitation of liability language within their standard contract, which I generally frown upon.
And I believe these are also areas that we've negotiated successfully with Meat and Hunt, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that Meat and Hunt be approved to provide technical assistance to submit license compliance documents to FERC for a price not to exceed $36,600.
With grants.
With grants,
Reservation negotiations.
reservations.
Paragraph
stipulations.
7 and 24.
24.
Got it. And who seconded that?
Thank you, Jeremy.
Doesn't take.
I did.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
We don't have anyone in the audience. Move on to mayor council comments. Scott?
The only thing I have to say is bundle up the next couple days.
Be safe, huh?
Brett?
Channel 3, CBS, if we could have a little insight on what is going there, Mr. Anderson.
So, we receive our signal from Channel 3 in a digital format. I don't know the exact year, but I do know that President Obama made the declaration, so I think it was 2014, 13, 14, where all stations had to move away from analog. Technically speaking, analog has a longer sphere of influence, can receive analog from farther distance than digital, all right? But what happened was they wanted to, analog takes up about 8 times the bandwidth space in the overall spectrum. So they wanted to free up that bandwidth space, so we made that declaration. Well, in doing so, all of the stations, the TV6s, all of the networks basically that were shooting their signal over air, it's not through fiber, it's, they had to replace their equipment with digital equipment and created a lot of problems. I mean, not too long ago, we paired up with about 4 other systems, and we actually received TV6 through a fiber link out of Marquette. We had all sorts of problems with that. Have the same problem here with Channel 3. Now, they upgraded their equipment in the fall. We were given official compensation or dispensation as far as being able to pipe in FRV out of Green Bay. because that did come up. But that's not our legal channel that we can pick up. But because they were out, we were allowed to do that for that period of time. They got their equipment back and up and running, and they're still having problems receiving that signal. It's not our equipment. There's something in their equipment that's creating this problem. So, you know, it's not the first time. It just happened to be the worst possible time with the football game. I think there were a lot more viewers watching, and it became noticeable. But we've had complaints over weeks about the issue, and you know, we just keep talking to them about, hey, they got to improve, you know, what the issues are. As far as solutions, you know, I did contact Packerland because we work with them on helping with, like when we worked with the TV6 issue. They were instrumental in putting the players together, you know, to get the fiber link. And I said, what would it take for us to get a fiber link? Because to me, that's the only way that we're going to solve the issue from our customer standpoint for signal, is to have it sent through fiber, because I'm not confident that the station really is going to upgrade anymore on their equipment. And there's a lot of factors that go into the signal. I mean, air quality, the humidity, temperatures, you know, so it must have been just perfect last night to screw it up. We see that in the fall and the spring with humidity changes, sun spots and humidity. We call it sun spotting and humidity, where we get a lot of interference. I'm thinking that between the temperatures and it sounds crazy, but during the cold temperatures you get a lot of humidity. I'm thinking that probably caused a lot of problems last night. So, you know, we're investigating those other options to give you. You know, a question that, I mean, obviously it's going to cost us, there's a transmission fee, you know, to do that. And it's not going to be as economical as with what we did with TV6, because like I said, we paired up with about 4 other entities to do it. We might be on our own, you know. So, you know, a question to customers would be, you know, would you be willing to pay a $1 a month extra, you know, to have that picture quality? And that would be the first thing. Because what people don't understand, and I try to explain it to them, and they're frustrated over it. Now, I think they understand it, and they don't like it. It's kind of like what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, we just don't like it. It's FCC rules. FCC rules require that we get our network stations in what they call a designated marketing area. It's where we do business, all right? Our designated marketing area, DMA, is Michigan. You know, so in order for us to pull in any Green Bay stations outside of our DMA, 2 things have to happen. One is that we don't have any other option, all right? Or number 2 is that the station that's in our DMA allows us to do it. That's it, period. And then people will say, well, how come we have 2 Foxes? We have 2 Foxes because the company that owns one Fox in Wisconsin owns the Fox in Michigan. And we said, hey, we got their agreement, you know, we got their approval to do it, you know. There's no other chance that we've had to do that. In fact, we didn't get the approval from Fox until they bought the stations out. You know, so I think that, you know, I've given you a copy of the contract. I mean, you can go through it. It's about a 40-page contract. You know, it's just retransmission is a, you know, it's a difficult endeavor for us, because we're kind of at the mercy of FCC rules in those issues. Now, when I was out in Washington, D.C., and when I go out for electric, I spend time, because cable, you know, the APPA, American Public Power Association, they also represent us to some extent in some of the cable areas. And I've sat in some of the breakouts where we talked about these issues, and we actually there's a designation for us. We're called an orphan community, and they're all over the country. You know, when you find out, and you're like, oh, at least we're not alone. You know, you go out and you look at western Wisconsin, you know, where people like to watch out of Minneapolis. Well, Minneapolis is a different DMA. You know, same type of thing. But they're all over, they're out west, down south, and, you know, we just, we've barked at the FCC every year I've been out there. I've been going out to Washington DC now for, gosh, 10 years. And, I mean, I know every single year that we've been out there that, you know, we've barked at them about it. And the folks at the APPA who would help us in this issue understand it, you know, but, you know, those regulations are tough. So switching to another channel is not, I mean, we can drop it, we don't have to take it, but we're not gonna drop it.
What does that cost, what does that channel cost us a year? What was that amount, or a
Well, it's
month?
$3.40 per sub per month.
I thought you had a total, it was like 23,
Well, our total basic package, the network, the 5 networks are like 93% of our basic package, which is roughly $22,000, all right? And what I also put in there is, there's only 2 stations that are more expensive than the local channels. You know, that's, what did I say was
ESPN, Fox Sports, Detroit, Nickelodeon.
Well, Nickelodeon is, I just gave you a list, there was
Oh,
like
okay.
the top 6. Everything underneath that is like $1, you know, it's less. Those stations were more.
And that's per prescriber.
Yeah, per prescriber per month, that's what we get charged. So,
And it's $340 a month for CBS.
right, and that's in line with all of our networks. And I'm just saying that, you know, you got 2 stations out of the 78 that we have in the basic and extended basic that are more expensive than the networks. Outside of that, they're more expensive than everybody else. And the market dictates that. So, you know, we're paying for it, and your options are limited.
We're not getting the quality and we can't complain to anybody, or we can complain with it, it doesn't do any good.
And we have to get it through them.
We have to get it through
So.
that.
How about if you have a
no
dish,
other
what happens
choice.
if you have a dish? Say I got an AT&T dish, will I get the same signal, or is that screwed up too? Or would that be good?
No, it's,
Last night it was good.
yeah, no, it's different. It's different, you know, and they
We're
have their
gonna
own
be losing
issues.
customers.
Well, they have their own issues. You know,
Yeah.
Dish
Well,
has its
yeah.
own issues. You know, I mean, I stayed at a hotel down in Lansing, the middle of Lansing, and they have a dish on the roof, and I'll be watching a hockey game or something, and
No blackout. Yeah.
it goes out, and that's because the clouds came over or something. I mean, so
Oh.
they have their issue, because they're
problems,
shooting
too.
it up, you know, from the sky, so,
The timing was the worst thing.
timing was terrible, timing was terrible. We know that in 2 weeks, we're gonna have to figure something out, and so we're preparing ourselves to have good signal.
But I mean, can we write anybody?
Right.
What good is it gonna do to write FERC, or not FERC?
I'm not sure in the government shutdown that they're
Yeah,
gonna be.
yeah.
They might not be essential
Send
employees
them a
anyway.
text on your phone, Lee.
Well, I can use the examples again, the best time is when we're actually out in Washington DC, which is,
I know that time I went out with you there 4 or 5 years ago, they had that breakout meeting for that too.
yeah. It's enlightening because, you know, you realize that others are having the same issues. Doesn't help us in a specific situation, but, you know, I'd say, you know, you can call, you can contact, but like, I've been doing this for over a decade and then I'm not getting a lot of attention, you know.
Okay.
I think it's good though that our customers understand that we're not just ignoring it. I mean, we don't want that bad signal, you know, so,
No, it's very frustrating, definitely.
yeah. But like I said, we are coming up with a game plan for 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
Try
Thank
and
you.
get that straight. And we are gonna give you the proposal for Fiber Connect.
Okay.
How's that enough?
Jeremy? I have nothing either. Grant?
I've spoken enough tonight, thank you.
Mr. Anderson?
Stay warm.
I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brute?
Yes, meeting adjourned.